Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, man? I hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day is going just fine. So today, man, today's Sunday. So how's it going? Happy Sunday to you, and happy Sunday to me. Alrighty, before we get this video started, I always like to get my video started with the moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, for those of us who still are bound down to some sort of struggle that keeps us from, moving forward in our daily lives, that keeps us struggling. So if you would, no matter what that is, so if you would, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right. Well, now that we got that cleared up, so let's dig in, man. Let's dig into the subject of today. You know what? I wanted to talk to you guys today a little about scheduling, about routine, and how that affects one's how that affects the trajectory of your life, how that affects the cycles of the life that you live, and how that affects people who are dealing with things. You know what I mean? Like myself. You know what I mean? Myself. I've mentioned it plenty of times on my videos. That I struggle quite a bit with a few things in my lifetime, from drug addiction to alcoholism to, PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, depression, suicidal thoughts, anger issues, sadness, those sorts of things, right? So it's a list. It's a list of things, man. And that now that I reflect back, on the things that I've done along my life, it's been a journey, right? And one of the things that I run into a lot with people that I hear speak, that I hear share their story, is there's not a lot of routine in the things that people do. In other words, they're so caught up in living a life that of things that have happened in the past. You know what I mean? They struggle with things that are happening in the past. That's how they live their life, due to the fact of, okay, X, Y, and Z happened. Now this is why I'm living the way I live, because this is pissing me off, or this is making me do this, or this is making me do that. That's the stories of that I hear, including myself. How I used to live my life, and also living life through worry, through living in a life for something that's to come. In other words, you are too busy thinking about, gosh, I got to do this at work, I got to do that at work, or I need to do this so that these people are taken care of in the future, or whatever. You know what I mean? So basically, you're living your life of things that happened in your past, things that are happening that haven't happened yet. So you're living a life that is of non-existence. You know what I mean? You're living a life that is gone, that it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The things that pass don't exist. The things that are to come don't exist. You know what I mean? So you're living your life in this way. It's a tug of war in a sense. And when you do that, a lot of things happen. There's a snowball effect to living a life like that. And what I mean by that is, your life isn't just going this way. It's just not a smooth ride. Your life is going down and up. There's good times, there's bad times, and it's constantly doing this, right? And I got to thinking, and I was like, well, how much structure did I have? How much of a routine did I have when I was in a dark place? And did that routine how did it affect my life? How was my life being driven? How was that roadmap of my life being drawn out with that routine that I was undertaking? And to come to find out, it's been, it has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? It has a lot to do with it. And, you know, there's a thing that's called it's called, let me pull this up real quick. Give me just a second so I can show you. Where are you at? Let me switch these glasses. Look, I can't see anything without these things. Okay, here we go. I got it. Right. Okay. Now, there's a thing that's called the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is a part of your biological system. You know what I mean? It's part of the human body. It's a system of natural oscillation that in other words, this is how the body works in this system. You know what I mean? And everything is funny because when to me, it's kind of funny that because your body works like this, everything works in rhythm with something. You know what I'm saying? And I know that when I was living in that life of darkness, you know what I mean? When I was living in the life of those things that kept me bound down to this type of lifestyle, which to me, I call it fearful, dark, and negative. And when I do that, there is only one way that I was accustomed to, or that my default, in a sense, of activities, of actions that I took to remedy those things was to consume, to use something that I found out at an early age, that if I smoke this or if I drink that, I don't feel this or that. You know what I mean? And so it is, to me, it's I think it's imperative to have a routine that allows you to connect with your spiritual energy. Now, I used to have a routine, and there's times in my life that I had this routine that I thought I was doing great. You know what I mean? I used to work out all the time. I freaking ate really good. I exercised. I mean, there's this whole part of myself that I always was paying attention to my eating habits and my exercise. For years, this went on. You know what I mean? But now that I look back at it, it was just part of this facade, that it was part of my addictive character. It was part of me being an addict. Because when you're have this routine like that, people look at you like, God, man, this dude's a healthy dude. You know what I mean? He's got it going on. But all the meanwhile, I'm dying inside. You know what I'm saying? All the meanwhile, I'm dealing with all this emotional trauma that people don't know about. You know what I mean? And the only way that I know how to deal with it is to consume this drug. Because when I'm using, I don't feel it. When I'm using, I get into what I call the I don't give a F mode, and that's exactly what happens. You don't give a F about nothing, not even yourself. You know what I mean? So that routine that I had was, in a sense, a crutch for me to keep using. Now, I also had this routine at one point in time in my life of devoting my life to a higher power, right? And And nonetheless, I kept on using. That didn't help me. You know what I mean? So I had this, now you got this dude who is taking care of himself. He's exercising. He looks playing the part, looks healthy. And he's now part of this, religious sect. Now he's going to church. He's going to these church groups and Bible studies and working out. He's got, he's working at his job. And I mean, man, this dude looks like the model dude. You know what I mean? Like like this is what people want to live like. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, you're fit, you're healthy, you got a job, you're making good money, you have a business, you're going to church, you're contributing to society, you're contributing to the community, you're just a good citizen. And all the meanwhile, you're just dying inside. All the meanwhile, I'm dealing with all this childhood trauma that I got freaking going on in my head. I'm dealing with the PTSDs. I'm dealing with this depression, with this suicidal thoughts, and just, I don't know how to get out of it. You know what I mean? And then things happen in your life, you know what I mean, that even bring you down further. And so going back to that circadian rhythm, I thought my rhythm was pretty good. You know what I mean? I thought I was doing well. You know what I mean? And all the meanwhile, there was something missing, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I decided that I was going to do something different, right? And something just entered my feelings, my soul, my I don't know what it was, but some sort of calling, right? And I knew that I had to find something that was spiritual. That I knew that I had to do that. So in turn there, my routine, my daily routine started being different. You know what I mean? And I've changed it. You know what I mean? And I changed it to this spiritual rhythm, that is intertwined to my circadian rhythm of my body in myself, that now I don't feel that void. Now I don't feel that thing that I felt that wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? I don't. It's kind of hard to explain it, but when I started to incorporate this different schedule and different spiritual routine into my life, that's when different things started coming up in my mental thought process. The roadmap of my life started changing, and it's almost like I got this new slate, right? I got this new slate. I got this new drawing. This just a blank sheet of paper, and I'm able to navigate and draw this picture of my life now however I want, however I see and feel that energetic divine energy is allowing me to paint this picture of my life, right? And I wasn't able to do that before, even though I was trying to live healthy, trying to do this and trying to be a devout Christian and that sort of thing, and things just weren't. I was still using. Man, when I got baptized at the Christian church that I was attending, I went to the pool. I mean, this is a true story, just so that you know. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I got baptized. I was high as hell on cocaine. You know what I mean? Before I get into the pool, before I at the parking lot in the church, I'm doing a couple of bumps before I get into the line to get baptized. You know how that to me is just, you're just not in your right. You're not in that right rhythm with that divine energy, that presence. You're not, and your frequencies aren't dialed in. You're not tuned in, man. You're playing the part like you've been exercising and doing all this other stuff and making this whole picture to the outer world seem like you got it going on, but inside you're it's just eating you up. So I get baptized and I'm high as hell. You know, how does that work? You know what I mean? I don't feel like I feel bad about that. You know what I mean? I feel terrible. I feel like, I did something wrong. And it wasn't until I decided to change my life to live a life in a spiritual sense. And I don't consider the life that I live right this minute any better than the life of when I was a devout Christian, right? I mean, I believe, man. I believe in a lot of things. You know what I mean? And that's okay to me. Because there are things that I believe in. The things that I do believe in are things that have existed. Things of the past, things that, the things that I study now today in my spiritual journey, I learn a lot from the people who have came before me. And if you know anything about a 12-step program, this is exactly what you're doing. You are taking advice, you're taking the nuggets, the good things that you see in other people's journey. That is basically a 12-step program in a nutshell. Is that there's these steps that you're taking to obtain something, in a sense, but by the help of somebody else who's already done it, if that makes any sense to anybody. And because you're not doing these 12 steps didn't just happen. Somebody made them up. You know what I mean? Somebody made them up. Just like every other religious or spiritual literature that you read, you're not reading it just because it appeared all of a sudden. No, you're reading it and it's there because of somebody else's experience. You know what I mean? You're reading and gathering this information from someone else's mental thought process. Now, the things that you do in your life today, you're not there because you did this on your own. No, you are there, and the things that you're doing now, the things that you've learned up to this point in your life, are there because of someone else's mental thought process. You know what I mean? And I figured, if everything that I've studied so far up to this date, anything that has been of spiritual nature, that is connected to what I believe is the divine matrix, the divine energy of that energy of light, that divine energy of, you can call it God. Nobody knows what it is, but they know it's an energy. You know what I mean? And when I change my routine to adapt and to go to that energy, to bring the frequencies of my heart and soul and tap it into that divine energy, is when things started changing. When I felt that I wasn't bound down to something anymore, when I felt the release of something in my heart and soul, that I feel like, wow, whew, I can finally relax now because I'm here. And when you get in tune with that energy, then it's like the energy draws you and it keeps you there. It's like this magnetic resistance that won't let you go. It's that once you're there, you're drawn into your frequency with that divine matrix, man, it keeps you. And if you go this way, it moves with you. You know what I'm saying? It's a weird feeling, but it's, to me, when that happened, I was able to let go of a lot of things. I was able to everything that I dealt with when I was in the addiction was lifted. Let's just say that. And I'm grateful to the routine. I'm grateful to the things that I do today. And that incorporates daily meditation and prayer. I mean, I spend probably a good 4 hours a day meditation and prayer at different times of the day. And I'm mindful about everything that I do today. I'm mindful about when I do these videos. I'm mindful when I'm eating. I'm mindful when I'm just walking down the road. I live life a little bit different. I don't live my life for something that passed, that I went through before. I'm not living my life for something that I'm looking to do in the future. I'm living my life for being here, present today, and the things that are around me, the people that are around me, the energies that are around me. That's how I live my life, and that works for me. You know what I mean? That routine that I got today's in my life works for me. The circadian rhythm of my, that circadian rhythm is a cool thing, man, because it has a lot to do with how you live. You know what I mean? It says that you need to, it's just like this rhythm of sleeping and waking up. Basically, your inner clock, if you will. And if that inner clock is not set with that divine energy being the clock, the time of the rhythm, if you're not set with that, you're always going to be off a little bit, man. And I lived like that for years, man. And it wasn't until I got into the spiritual sense and aligned my frequencies with that rhythm of the divine matrix, with my circadian clock tuned in to where it was supposed to be. And now I can, it's just a weird how it works, but it works. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but all I know is that the rhythm of my schedule, of my body clock, of my spiritual energy is in line where it's supposed to be right now. And gosh, I wish I would have figured this out a long time ago. You know what I mean? And I just I do a lot of research, man. I do a lot of studying, and the ancient people, man, they knew something that we didn't know. You know what I mean? They knew something that we didn't know, and they lived their life through that divine cosmic energy. And it's now in today's world being proven, scientifically proven. So to me, it's beautiful, and so I adopt a lot of those practices, man, and they work for me. And whether they work for somebody else, I have no idea. You know what I mean? But I know that for myself, my life, the scheduling of how I schedule my routines now in a spiritual sense is beautiful, and it works for me, man. I don't feel the way I was when I was in that darkness, when I was in that world of addiction. You know what I mean? And when I was in that world of dealing with the childhood trauma and the PTSDs and the suicidal thoughts and the depression and the anger and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I feel free today, and I feel like I'm living where I'm supposed to be. And that's why I like sharing the things like that on my videos, man, because I feel that somebody else needs to hear it, man, and somebody else needs to be, in tune with that frequency. And maybe, you pick something up from me that will allow you to do that. You know what I mean? All I know is that it takes initiative, and it takes repetitious, and it all starts with a mental thought process, my brothers and sisters. That's, to me, I believe that's where it starts. And for me, that's where it started. You know what I mean? I had to change that mental thought process from negative, fearful, and dark to something that was positive, spiritual, and of good karmic energy. That's when my life started changing around for the better. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the things and for the people who have opened my eyes and allowed me to feel this energy. You know what I mean? I'm grateful for my divine power that allowed me to get in tune where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? And it allows me to share this message with somebody. You know what I mean? And I think it's great. But so I just wanted to throw that out there today. It was something that was kind of, I was, in my meditation, and that's where I find clarity in my meditation process. And before I do a video, I always do, it takes me about an hour or maybe sometimes 2 hours to figure out what it is that I'm going to talk about. And a lot of the times I get that answer in my meditation. So, so today was circadian rhythm and the schedules, and how that affects and how that affects your life, and just know that you can roadmap your life at any time, man. That's the beauty of that, of our capability, you and I, that we have that ability to change and roadmap our life at any time, how we want it. You know what I mean? And how beautiful is that we have that capability? And since we have that capability, why not roadmap your life to be of nothing but good karmic and spiritual and loving energy? You know what I mean? I find that beautiful to me, man. You know what I mean? Why would I want to incorporate negative, fearful, and dark? Well, why? It's like a no-brainer, right? But anyway, man, I just wanted to throw that out there today. Maybe give you something to think about this Sunday, and maybe it helps somebody out today. You know what I mean? And that's the whole purpose of doing these videos, man. So again, I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much for tuning into my video today. If you would, please, at this time, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment. I really appreciate that. Just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, it don't cost you a thing, but you will be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, suicidal thoughts, anger issues, sadness, all of those things, my friend, because I have dealt with all those things at one point in time in my life. And guess what, my brothers and sisters? I know a way out. And my way out just might be your way out. So I guess until the next time, man, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.